Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to Hackensack's 2021 Veterans Day ceremony. I appreciate everyone making the time to come out here and to remember our veterans that served our nation and our city. I'd like to welcome Father Loeffler up to say an opening prayer.
Let us pray. O Judge of the nations, we remember before you on this Veterans Day with grateful hearts the men and women of our country who in the day of decision ventured much for the liberties we now enjoy. Grant that we may not rest until all the people of this land share the benefits of true freedom and gladly accept its disciplines. This we ask for the honor and praise of your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Will everyone please rise for the presentation of colors by the Hackensack Police Department Honor Guard? Please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem by Sam Yoon of Hackensack High School. Thank you. Please be seated. On Veterans Day, we commemorate the service of veterans of all wars. We remember how men and women set aside their civilian pursuits to serve their nation's cause, defending the freedoms of mankind and preserving our precious American heritage. We believe our strengths on the field of battle, on the supply lines which nourish the armed might, lay in justice of the cause against evil forces. We believe our determination made us better warriors because we fought with our minds and our hearts as well as our bodies. We recognize the service to our country, and our cause does not end with the termination of military service. We continue our endeavors on behalf of an honorable world peace with a feeling of profound gratitude to God and to the men and women who gave their lives as their part of the cost of this noblest cause. Out of blood, sweat, and sweat, we learned of purpose, sacrifice, tolerance, bravery, and discipline. These are solid foundations upon which this nation is built. In our continuing quest for honorable world peace, we must cultivate these virtues. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. I appreciate it. I'd like to invite the commander of American Legion Post 55, Vincent DeToli, up to say a few words this morning. Commander.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Veterans Day ceremony. I see that this is the largest crowd I remember, and thank you all for showing up to honor veterans of present and past. I'd like everyone to enjoy the ceremony. We have a guest speaker, and thanks again for taking time out to be present here to honor the veterans.
Thank you, Commander. I'd like to also invite Barry Hirschberg and Luigi Dimartino up from Disabled American Veterans Post 32 for a poem that Barry has written for us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm very honored to, and Luigi and I are very honored to represent the AV Chapter 32, Northern Valley Chapter 32 out of Bergenfield, New Jersey. I had to write this last night. It just came out. I hope you appreciate it. It's called I Am an American Veteran. I raised my hand, an oath I swore to keep my country free. In time of peace, in time of war, a soldier I would be. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine. My mission is the same. Protect my home from the unforeseen, though no one knows my name. From the revolution where I took a stand, through World Wars I and II, Korean conflict, Vietnam, I thought my wars were through. But terror struck my nation's heart that dark September morn. So, once again, I did my part. A soldier was reborn. No one can know what I've been through, from ribbons on my chest. But this from my heart, I swear is true. I always did my best. I'm an American veteran.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment to recognize some dignitaries we have here today. Unfortunately, Congressman Gottheimer was called away, but we have Mike McCurry from representing him from his office. We also have Bergen County Commissioner Jermaine Ortiz here. Thank you. From the city of Hackensack, we have Mayor John LaBrosse, Deputy Mayor Kathy Canestrino, Councilman Leo Battaglia, Councilwoman Stephanie von Rodenberg, and Councilman Jerry Carroll. City manager, I'd like to recognize the city manager, Vincent Caruso, Hackensack Police Department officer in charge, Captain Darren DeWitt. From the Hackensack Fire Department, Chief Tom Freeman. From the DPW, I'd like to recognize Joe Anglima and Fred Cole and thank them specifically for all the work that they do to get everything ready and to support this ceremony. And I also want to thank Rose Frontignano, who from the Rec Department is a huge help in organizing this ceremony as well. From Hackensack Public Schools, I'd like to recognize Superintendent of School Robert Sanchez. We also have the Board of Education Vice President Scott James Vickery here, I believe. And we have Trustee Michael Oates here also. Thank you. And from the high school, we have Mr. Montesano, Mr. King, and Mrs. McVicker. And I'd like to thank the high school again for supporting our program by bringing in Sam to be our trumpet player and to support the ceremony again this year. Sam, thank you very much. We also have from the Hackensack Recruiting Station, Captain Delgado and Sergeant First Class Mixon, who are here supporting us as well. Thank you very much for attending, gentlemen. And we have with us also Mayor Jack Ziza, Deputy Mayor Mark Stein is here, and Councilman Dave Sims is here as well. Again, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I'd like to invite Mayor LaBrosse up to say a few words on behalf of the city. Mayor. Sorry, we're going to do a slight program change. We're going to ask Jermaine to come up first to say a few words on behalf of the Bergen County Commissioners. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Such a beautiful day to see everyone come out today on such a special day to observe all the men and women that have sacrificed so much for our country. Not only our brave men and women, but their families who also sacrifice so much for the freedom that we have, this amazing country we live in. And although we have today to observe, I think this is something that we should be doing not today, but every day, because we couldn't have the benefits that we have as Americans and this freedom that we all live in and this amazing country that we all live in. And on behalf of my colleagues on the board and the county executive, we wish you all a happy Veterans Day. And thank you again for everything you do for our country. It'll never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for coming. Now I'd like to invite our mayor up to say a few words on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, elected officials, members of the clergy, and a special good morning to all of our veterans. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service. This morning, we gather again here on the green to honor those who serve and have served in our armed forces. Before I proceed, I'd like to thank Mike Melfi, who heads up the Veterans Affairs for Hackensack. Mike has been doing a great job for our vets since taking over this program, and he deserves a round of applause. So today's a special day. It's a little different than years past. The speech is going to be a little different. So today we're going to honor someone who has done something very special for our Hackensack veterans. This gentleman has spent countless hours researching and documenting vets who were from the city of Hackensack. He was born in Hackensack Hospital in 1955. Bob Mealy attended Fairmount School, State Street Middle School, and is a 1973 graduate of Hackensack High School. He played baseball and wrestled for the Comets and went on to junior college, where he also wrestled, winning the junior college regionals and qualifying for the junior college national championships. Bob went on to marry in 1976, and he's blessed to have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. Bob is a carpenter who specialized in exterior wall units and was a member of Carpenter Local Union 15 on 36 Bergen Street for 32 years. He's currently retired, but still volunteers his skills as a carpenter for Hackensack Christian Academy. So now we know Bob's bio. Let's get to know why he's being honored. I'm going to read a statement written by Bob Mealy's father's high school, and it's from his high school yearbook in 1946. It was on his dedication page, and it paid tribute to those killed in action in World War II. And it goes on to say that war is good, or that there are not better ways to solve problems in the world, would be foolish to believe. Just as foolish would be to believe that nations need never to react to a reality of unrestrained aggression. 2 irreconcilable truths, so we the living are left to recognize those who have stood in harm's way, to preserve freedom humbly, thanking them for their sacrifice, to be called upon to do the unthinkable. It was this awareness which struck Bob Mealy when his sons were in school in 1999 through 2000, and then 9/11 occurred. And in 2001, Bob Mealy states he realized after reading his father's Hackensack High School yearbook the names of the men killed were Bob's son's age, and their names were the names of the streets in Hackensack and New Milford, where Bob had settled down. He began to remember the men from Hackensack who would be mentioned when discussions of service would come up. Bob always wanted to know what they did or where they had been, but it seemed no one talked about it. Bob then brought the idea to his old wrestling coach turned principal, Joe DeFalco, to create a wall unit with veterans' names placed on it to pay tribute to their service. Joe said he had an old wall unit. He'd put it up. Without explaining every detail here, Joe DeFalco got it up 2 years later, but unfortunately was unable to finish because Joe DeFalco passed away on Bob's 50th birthday on May 10, 2005. That led to Bob having to finish the project with the financial help of the Hackensack High School faculty. For 2 years, Bob Mealy acted as curator of the wall unit, putting up posters of stories of veterans on a space on the wall unit. In 2008, the principal at the time, Mark Porto, discussed the idea with Web Design 2 teacher Felice Tadkenhorst that they use the veteran stories such as the ones on these posters as a tool for the Web Design 2 class. The students could use the material on each veteran to learn how to create web pages, links, files, etc. And so that's what brings us here today. So, Mr. Mealy, if you would come up, please. So the city has a proclamation for Mr. Mealy, and it reads, whereas Bob Mealy was born in Hackensack, New Jersey on May 10, 1955. He attended Fairmount School, State Street Middle School, and graduated Hackensack High School in 1973. And whereas Bob Mealy, after reading his father's 1946 yearbook paying tribute to those killed in action during World War II, began to remember the men from Hackensack who had died in war. And whereas to say that war is good or that there are not better ways to solve problems in the world would be foolish to believe. Just as foolish would be to believe that nations need never to react to reality of unrestrained aggression, two irreconcilable truths, so we the living are left to recognize those who have stood in harm's way to preserve the freedom, humbly thanking them for their sacrifice, to be called upon to do the unthinkable. And whereas Mr. Mealy had an idea to create a wall unit with veterans' names to pay tribute to their service, with the starting help of wrestling coach turned principal Joe DeFalco, and with the financial help of Hackensack High School faculty, the wall unit was completed. Bob acted as curator of the wall unit, putting up posters and stories for our veterans. The material on each veteran was used by Hackensack High School web design teacher to teach students how to create web pages, links, and files. Now, therefore, I, John P. LaBrosse Jr., Mayor of the City of Hackensack, along with members of the Hackensack City Council, urge all our citizens to solemnly remember all of those who fought to preserve our freedom on this Veterans Day. Bob, thank you so much for what you've done. You're a tribute to the city. We appreciate everything you do. And we hope you continue. And we hope there's no more names going on the wall. But the city of Hackensack is honored to honor you today. And we really appreciate everything you've done. So thank you, Bob. And would you like to say a few words?
First,
Go ahead. Okay, beautiful.
So, I'd like to invite Mr. McCurry up also from the Congressman Gottheimer's office. Bob, please stay.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here, and thank you to the City of Hackensack for having us. Today, on behalf of the Congressman and our entire office, I'd also like to present Mr. Mealy with Congressional Certificate of Recognition for excellent services to the community and to the City of Hackensack.
I'm really so tremendously grateful. I really never expected anything like this because it's been such a pleasure learning about the veterans. But first and foremost, I wrote this down and I thought it's a great story to tell, and the message here is great of one of the veterans. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank my wife, Gail. Without her patience and love, I would not have been able to do any of this. I would call her on Saturday afternoon and say, Gail, sorry, I'm going to be late. I'm stopping at the cemetery to take photos of graves. and she would just respond, "Oh, okay, that's normal for you. When are you coming home?" You know, so that was the type of thing she was putting up with, and I can't tell you, I could have never done anything without her. The veterans and citizens of Hackensack should be aware of the tremendous work over the past 14 years by the teacher Felice Tachtenhurst and her Hackensack students to create such a wonderful website that pays tribute to the veterans' sacrifice. It's the high school students and the teachers that really have committed this great effort. It's just been tremendous. I started working on the wall unit in Hackensack in 2003, and I am keenly aware of why I was so effortlessly continued to research the men on this website. Number one is my love of history instilled in by my mother, Elaine Mealy, who made learning history fun. Number two, the stories of so many moved me so and became such a blessing to understand the sacrifice that was made by these men so all of us could enjoy such freedom as no other people in history. Third, and the trigger that started everything in motion, has sustained me, was the deep love Joe DeFalco passed on to his family, myself, and so many students and staff members who knew him. I love Joe, and I still do. He still motivates me. The love he had for me. Just a very inspirational man. And he never served in the military, and he let everyone know that. He really, truly respected veterans in a great way. When we were alone, he would say things, and he just had a deep heart for veterans. He had that charisma which apparently people felt of Nelson Haas, and these people are on the website. Nelson Haas was the founder of the Hackensack school system, not from Hackensack, but he served during the Civil War as a cook. He was very young, and he served as a cook. And also Carl Patavana. Carl Patavana was superintendent of Hackensack schools for 17 years. He served during the Second World War, and he fought on Iwo Jima. He was shot twice, and he received the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. And he was a very inspirational person to Joe DeFalco and all those players and students that knew him. They loved him deeply. There's stories on the website about Carl Patavano. The men listed on this website and their stories are stories of America and the struggle of our nation. People from Hackensack and all these towns, but Hackensack because it's our home. Your stories of America. You are America. We are the ones who made the difference. People from this town. Some of the information on the website has names such as Harry DeRemus. Harry DeRemus was a captain during the First World War. The post is named after him, the Legion Post. He received the Distinguished Service Cross in the Army. And he led people from Fashini Park, Hackensack citizens over there who charged out of the trenches during World War I. And his story and his letter home on our website is to his wife. It brings tears to your eyes. He died on October 25th, 1918, only 17 days from the end of the war. And the letter that he writes to his wife would bring anyone to tears. And it's on our website. H. Kent Hewitt. A lot of people don't know this man. He was one of the most influential admirals in the history of the Navy. He went to Hackensack in 1903. He has a bust of him at the Naval Academy, a hall named after him. He has had a ship named after him. It was decommissioned around 2000, the year 2000. He led Operation Torch, and after he led that was the invasion of Morocco at the beginning of the war with Patton. Patton was on his ship. He actually saved Patton coming up the rope ladder, which was a little bit of a story. But he led the Operation Torch, the invasion of Italy, which Joseph Moriello and Tuggy Cellarole were involved with. People here know them. And I always often wondered, did they know H. Kent Hewitt was leading them in this armada to the beaches? He also led Operation Anvil, which was on the opposite side of Operation Overlord. E. Frederick Morrow is another man who has extensive information on our website. He was the first black presidential aide in the history of the United States under the Eisenhower administration. He communicated with Jackie Robinson and Martin Luther King for civil rights during the 1950s. And his sister is Nellie K. Parker. A lot of people don't know these things. A tremendous history. On our website, he wrote 3 books. One of them, Black Man in the White House, 1963. A very influential book in that time period of 1963. It's all on our website. All the family members and their veterans themselves who sent information or I interviewed, I am truly grateful. Some veterans spoke freely about their service, others more reserved, but there was one trait I found in all. No veteran wanted to be called a hero. They won't shy away from thank you for your service, but I felt a resistance when people would say you're a hero. We had a discussion, Felice and I, at the beginning of hero, because the kids really plastered it on there, and I said, I don't think they like that. That's not good. So they made it smaller. It's up there because she said, well, the kids want it there. It's important. And I said, okay. So we compromised. But it's something that I always felt a resistance. They always felt a resistance to. And the veteran I'm going to tell you about, you can see why. I have come to understand why they would not want that label, but not having served, must insist veterans of all branches of service come to understand our gratefulness and for many our admiration for what they have done on our behalf to protect our freedom. You must understand as veterans that it goes unsaid how much we are grateful. A close friend of mine was Joe Carney, who served during Vietnam. And when he came back, it was a very hard time for him. And no one really talked to him. But all of us had such a reverence for what he had done, and we wanted to convey that to him. And sometimes that conveyance wasn't conveyed properly, but we want you to know that. And that's what we're here today for. And I thank everyone who is here for that. I'm going to tell you a story that I think is worth telling. It's one veteran, and that'll be the end. But Joseph Polifronio was born, because it's somebody I knew as a Little League coach. Joseph Polifronio was born in 1930, has lived his whole life in Hackensack, growing up on Holt Street, right by St. Francis Church. He's 91 years old now, and he's in Care 1. I had known Joseph Polifronio only as a very mild-mannered man growing up, who coached his son's Carmen's Little League baseball team, the Hackensack Trost. I had played for the Cowan sports team and remember some memorable games against them. A few people here remember those games too. I was invited to attend the VFW Christmas party on December 3rd, 2014. I was sitting next to, as I always remembered him, Mr. Polifronio. The story he was about to tell me, I never would have imagined. This mild-mannered man who grew up in Hackensack and attended Jackson Avenue School and then State Street School, cutting short his education, as so many did, during the 1930s and 40s, to go to work for his family. Joe opened up. I was drafted into the service in 1951. I was 21 years old. I asked what branch of service, and he said, I was in the Marines. I became a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. You develop a special bond. The Marines needed to make a quota, and out of 300 men, they picked 25 of us to be Marines, and I was one of them. I had signed up to be in an Army artillery, but when they put me in the Marines, I became a machine gunner. I asked Joseph Polifronio if he had been in combat, and he replied, oh yes, I was on Bunker Hill, this is during Korean War, and was shot in the chest, and the bullet came out my back by a sniper. I asked him if he remembered what happened on that day.
assuming he was not conscious after getting hit in the chest by gunfire and exiting one's back. But to my surprise, he responded. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were on this hill and we were getting ready to try to break through, to get out of there, as we were getting surrounded. We were in bunkers with 4 guys in each. A gunner, I was a gunner. I fired the machine gun. Then there was the assistant who oiled and maintained the gun, and then 2 ammunition runners. The assistant gunner had to oil this one spot by going outside the bunker, and this one day he just started shaking and was so undone. He said he just couldn't go out. He couldn't do it. He just couldn't go out there that day. So I said, I'd go. So I go out and oil the spot, and as I turn, a shot goes off, and I feel as though I am being pushed back, but I have no pain. A corpsman known as a medic in the Army saw what happened and screams, he's been hit. They got me into the bunker, and the sergeant says, we got to get him out of here and to a hospital, and the medic responds, he will never make it. They had to get me to the helicopter, which was about 100 yards away, and the sergeant asked for 4 volunteers to carry me to the copter. I was still conscious and did not feel any pain. They got me on the copter, and I then asked if they had got the guy who shot me. The guys responded, oh yes, all hell broke loose. Our guys shot everywhere. They told me they had gotten the guy and killed him. We made it to the copter, and I was awake the whole time. They took me to a MASH unit field hospital. I was still awake, getting weaker though. Once they started operation, I was unconscious. I was operated on in the MASH unit, and they cut open my whole right side, where they patched me up as best they could. The bullet passed through my lung, my liver, and my spleen. They saved my life. While I was in the hospital, the guy I had gone out to oil the gun for came. And this goes to that hero thing. He just could not stop crying and apologizing. He was so upset. He was so glad I made it. I can't convey to you how much Joe felt sorry for this man who felt so bad that he had gotten hit. It was like, it's not your fault. I understand. I'm not a hero. I just cleaned the gun. That was Joe's attitude. I knew this man. He was a good man. The Marine Corps then brought me stateside. Where I went through several operations. For a couple years, he went through operations. I was medically discharged as a corporal in 1953. I had been in combat for about 4.5 months. I used the GI Bill to go to engraving school in Hoboken, and I started my own business, which my son continues to this day. My wife, who has passed away, and I have 4 wonderful children. One thing Joseph Polifronio, and all you veterans realize this, one thing Joseph Polifronio, who received the Purple Heart for this incident, said, how grateful the South Korean people are, even to this day, for the American GIs who fought for their freedom during the Korean War. I would like to add our thanks to all you veterans and all you've sacrificed both for our nation and for the city of Hackensack. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And again, thank you for all the effort you've made to put this together. It's a tremendous amount of effort, and if anyone has the opportunity to look at the website, the stories that Bob has documented there are incredible, especially about a number of our veterans and a number of people that you may know personally. I think I see 2 more dignitaries, I'm sorry, that came late. I want to recognize Mr. Marcelia, our former superintendent of schools. And I think I also saw Lance Powell, from the president of the Board of Education somewhere. Sorry, I lost sight of him. At this point, I'd like to begin the presentation of the wreaths. beginning with the city of Hackensack. Hackensack American Legion Post 55. Hackensack Fire Department. Hackensack Police Department. Hackensack Department of Public Works. Oh, sorry, Dean. Hi. Do you want to bring it? That's it. Hackensack H-Cops. Hackensack Meridian Health. Majestic Lodge 153, Majestic Temple 215. BPO Elk 658. Hackensack Trost Club. See if I can see. Mark. Hackensack Rotary Club. Hackensack Unico. All right. Hackensack Chamber of Commerce. Hackensack Main Street Business Alliance. Legislative District 37. Can you guys do that one? Can you do it, Gary? Thanks. Hackensack Condo and Co-op Board. Bergen County Commissioners. Disabled American Veterans Chapter 32. The Bergen County Executive's Office. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the Chamber of Commerce who initiated a new program this year. The program involves giving people in the community an opportunity to purchase a flag, and the proceeds from these flag purchases are used to support events at the Bergen County Veterans Home in Paramus. So I'd like to thank the Chamber for their efforts on this, and this is our first year, which I think is a pretty good turnout for our first year of this program. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the rifle salute. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Special thanks to the City of Hackensack for hosting this ceremony for us as usual. Thank you very much, and I'd like to specifically thank the Recreation Department for all the efforts that they go through to help ensure that everything is organized for this, as well as to the DPW for setting everything up, the Hackensack Police Department Honor Guard as well. Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to recognize a new group that came today. Operation K9 is here today. They're a group that provides service dogs to veterans with PTSD, and they also, I think they also bring their service dogs to the veterans home to help support veterans there and to help with their therapy. So thank you for joining us today. I'd also like to ask Stephanie Padone to come up and say a few words. Stephanie is the person who year after year has prepared these ribbons that she gives out here for everyone. And she wants to specifically take an opportunity to recognize the people she acknowledged in the ribbons this year. So Stephanie, will you please come up?
I hope this works. I don't have a great phone, but I just wanted to read off the names of the people, of the veterans that you are wearing today who died in Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant Ryan Canals, 23, of Knoxville, Tennessee. Lance Corporal Renee McCollin, 20 years old, from Boonart, Wyoming. Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22, of Indo, California. Lance Corporal Dylan R. Marola, 20, from Chattanooga. Lance Corporal Kareem Kino, 20 years old, of Norco, California. Sergeant Joanny Rosario Pincaro, 25, of Lawrence, Massachusetts. Corporal Umberto Sanchez, 22, of Logansport, Indiana. Corporal Deegan William Tyler Page, 23, of Omaha, Nebraska. Lance Corporal Jared Schmott, 20. They have no place of origin for him. And Seaman Maxim Max Soviet, 22, of Ohio. Rest in peace, and we thank you for your service. And it's always an honor to do what I do for the veterans, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Stephanie. Please remain standing for the retirement of the colors. Our ceremony has ended, but I'd like to end it as I usually do and thank everyone for taking the time today to remember our veterans. And as my predecessor, Ernie Cahey, used to say, today is a day for us to remember all of those that served our nation, not necessarily just to go shopping. So please make sure you all have already done so, made time to remember our veterans. Share this news of this ceremony and the efforts of all of our veterans to your friends and neighbors, to make them aware and so that they can be remembered forever for the dedication that and the commitment they've made to our nation. So again, thank you everyone for coming. It's great to see everyone, and everyone please have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Our fathers had to fight for our country. Our fathers had to die to keep it free. So let's fight for our country. Let's fight for our freedom. Let's fight to keep America free. God gave us this land and the ocean, sky, air pure and clean. So let's fight for our country, do right by our people. Let's keep America clean. Let's stand proud and show we care for lives lost all over. The flags fly high from the mountains. Let freedom sound across the sea. So let's fight for our country. Stand for true justice. Let's fight to keep America free. Let the stars shine bright with their glory. May the stripes show all how much we care. We must learn to love each other, protect and help our brother. Around the world, the dreams that we share. Let's stand proud and show we care for lives lost all over. The flags fly high from the mountains. Let freedom sound across the sea. So let's Our fathers had to fight for our country. Our fathers had to die to keep it free. So let's fight for our country. Let's fight for our freedom. Let's fight to keep America free. God gave us this land and the ocean, sky, air pure and clean. So let's fight for our country, do right by our people. Let's keep America clean. Let's stand proud and show we care for lives lost
You relax, Dad. You look very stiff. Yeah. Okay. Actually, that's not my side.
Well, I met my friend, his dad, and he was in my hotel, but then he passed away. That's stop right there, right? Ready?
Hey, that's special.
You know what I tell Jeff? I tell Jeff, I go,
You better start running.
And they're military people, so you have to survive in the
Exactly.
I know.
when he passed.
Take care.
they got him.
Yeah.